I'm going to react to the fakest Minecraft speedruns on the planet. They start off by spawning in a village, which by itself is very rare, but to spawn where you're outside a blacksmith is like just even rarer. Even after all of this chance of spawning there, on top of that, the chest was stacked with obsidian, which was just enough to make a portal. And of course there was just a flint and steel and full iron armor. I think at this point it's safe to say this is a very bad attempt at fake speedrunning, but let's just see where this goes. They then begin to get some wood and make a portal after only being 35 seconds into the run. And then the runner makes a massive mistake that this time is very obvious. As they enter the portal, the video is cut. The runner obviously changed where they spawned so that it was inside the fortress and to where they actually already knew. They then kill some blazers, and I think they might have actually died because the video then cuts again to where the things in their inventory is different and their hotbar is in different places. Also, their hearts regenerated, which obviously shows something was cut. They then freeze in place and watch if you can see what happens. Yep, suddenly their blaze rods increased to 16, which means they can now leave the Nether for some reason. When they go through, they are now in a cave instead of the village they started in, and this could just happen in normal Minecraft. I believe it's a glitch, but I'm guessing this is where they traveled from before to get into the fortress. They then mine through a couple walls, and there is a slight cut to when they're a few blocks away from the stronghold. Also, if you look at their hotbar, they suddenly have some ender pearls. So let's just watch that again. As you can see, the ender pearls just magically appear in their inventory, and they now have everything to go to the end. Then the runner makes all of the eyes of ender, goes into the end, and does what every other speedrunner does. Just flies around, gets all the crystals, and kills the ender dragon. You know, just a normal thing. This guy spawns in and is playing Minecraft on a phone or tablet. Instantly, you can see that there's a chest to his right after he spawns in, which isn't even allowed in speedrunning as it is. He then runs over towards it and manages to fall in a hole. This is probably why they cheated in their speedrun, because they're just terrible at the game. They then dig out and just wait until you see what was in this bonus chest. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that isn't what usually spawns in any type of chest at all. Once again, confirming that the speedrun is definitely faked. Also, for some reason, the runner only gave themselves diamond boots instead of netherite, but I guess they're just too good for that. Their video is then cut, and you can just see at the side that they actually cut the video after they died. This is actually so funny because you can see they got some extra stuff in their inventory as well. I'm not actually quite sure how he did die because it would have been hard when he has nearly full netherite armor and also a netherite sword. They then run for a while and find a sign that says to dig down. Even though when they turn around, there's already a hole dig straight down into the end portal. Yeah, surely they can't believe anyone would think this is real. They then get into the end and bridge across using their diamond blocks from the chest. This guy is just too rich. And we now have another person one-hitting the ender dragon. I don't think you would really want to fight this guy. This guy is on Bedrock and spawns in the middle of two blacksmiths. The chances of this is literally impossible, but let's just see where it goes. In one of the blacksmiths there is full diamond tools and also half diamond armor. There's no way this is possible. And in the other blacksmith, there's just the rest of the diamond armor as well as some food and 23 pieces of obsidian. When he goes outside, there's a very weird looking tree that isn't exactly the same shape as what a nether portal is. Surely that is fake. The runner makes his way to a bastion and ends up having to kill nearly all of the piglins because otherwise he would have died. Also, because this guy is on Bedrock and is playing the latest version, that means that the ender pearl trades are very, very bad. And he finds this out after trading 2 stacks of gold and only getting 2 ender pearls back, which is just terrible. And now somehow he needs to try and get 10 more ender pearls. He then makes his way back to the fortress and finds a blaze spawner and some blaze rods. The runner gets into the overworld and you can actually see in their inventory that they have searched up POR, which would probably mean portal frames for the end, and I wouldn't be surprised if he finds some random place for the end portal. He then makes his way to a stronghold and gets so frustrated about finding the end portal that he just goes into creative and makes his own portal. Come on, bro, you can do better. And he was so annoyed that he actually did the whole ender dragon fight in creative as well. Seriously? This guy starts off and it's already night, so we know it's fake. Then gets some tools and makes his way into the cave to find some diamonds. You know, just a normal run so far. He then collects some obsidian and also finds his way to a village where he finds a few items that indicate the speedrun is fake. Once in the Nether, the runner runs straight towards a fortress, gets blaze rods, and then goes looking for a bastion where he trows with some piglins and gets some ender pearls. And this is where it gets really funny. The runner goes back into the overworld and manages to find a desert temple that looks different to the normal temple in Minecraft. And the chests are very overpowered. Just take a look at this. Come on. Once by the stronghold, the runner manages to actually only have 10 eyes of ender instead of the 11 needed for this portal. So what does he do? Instead of doing the normal thing and going back into the Nether, he just cuts the clip and now there's just one more hidden in his inventory. The runner then goes into the end and the ender dragon is already on 1 health. come on. This guy spawns in and it is already level 7, so we know it's fake. But then he goes straight into a mine and manages to find some very, very OP stuff. Like, these things would be fully endgame gear, and he literally got it in 15 seconds. He also has a maxed bow, which I guess is for the Ender Dragon fight as well, and he also has all of the Eyes of Ender. He then runs into a specific area and finds a door underwater with an Ender portal there, which actually turns out to not work. This guy really does have to cheat because he is just terrible. Instead of just restarting and re-recording, he just goes to find the actual stronghold, which takes him a while because it was actually a few hundred blocks away. Then goes into a cave and finds the stronghold, which means he might have actually done this on purpose. Just why? Once in the end fight, he uses his bow with harming arrows and manages to kill the Ender Dragon pretty easily. This run was just a really big mess. This guy spawns into a normal looking speedrun. He gets some tools and then he goes mining to where he gets some iron. He then goes back to the surface and is in a completely different place to where he started and is now in a village. I'm not really too sure how he did that. He then loots the whole village and kills the iron golem. And then this is where it gets really funny. The speedrunner decides to mine underneath the bell in the village and dig straight down into a room with a blaze spawner. The chances of this is just impossible. He then actually goes into Nether and finds a bastion to trade with some piglins. And it's seen quite quickly that the drop rates must have been tampered with, as the runner managed to get a ton of pearls from only a few bits of gold, which indicates again this speedrun must in fact be fake. Then goes back to the overworld to find the stronghold, where he then goes to the end and now suddenly pulls out a bow from his inventory, which definitely wasn't there before. And then the dragon fight goes how it usually would, as he destroys all the crystals and then kills the Ender Dragon. Honestly, if you want to fake something, please don't make it as obvious as this, because it was just hilarious. The next guy spawns in a desert, and of course there is a sand temple nearby. Then they run over and of course looks down, and there is just a hole straight down to where the chests are. I think they probably went into creative and put some stuff in the chests and forgot to put the block back, because that never happens. Then they go down and of course the chests are filled with some insane stuff. Like, they managed to get 17 blocks of obsidian, 32 enchanted golden apples, and much more, which is just unheard of. And at this point it's just really funny because, like, there's no chance anyone could ever have any of that in a sand temple. And then this run gets even worse. The runner makes a nether portal and realizes they actually have no flint and steel. So what do? Yep, they just go into creative and just get their own flint and steel. After doing that already, they stay in creative and then say they're going to the bathroom. Then the video goes black for a few seconds and it comes back and they're already in the stronghold with all the Eyes of Ender needed. Then once in the end, the runner switches to survival and then realizes they're probably not going to kill it in survival. So they go back to creative, give themselves like strength 1000 and manage to kill it in a few hits. Honestly, I think this might be really close to the world record. The next runner spawns into a village, which again is pretty rare. And then they run into a house and find... Okay, well, this isn't very legit, is it? Like, they literally have a plane. Alright, that's enough. This speedrun begins as this guy finds a shipwreck. He finds some decent stuff and then he finds an abandoned portal which has just enough stuff to get into the Nether. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's fake already. He then makes his way straight to a fortress and finds a blaze spawner instantly, which again indicates that this is in fact fake. The runner then trades with some piglins and makes all of the needed Eyes of Ender for getting to the end. And this is where it gets really funny. On the way to the stronghold, the runner manages to find a woodland mansion, something that is incredibly hard to find. But however, this one is just special. Once inside, he finds his way to a massive chicken and for some reason mines inside to find full enchanted netherite armor. Why would anyone believe this? And if that wasn't bad enough, look at the enchantment levels of these things. You literally have to do commands to get this. The runner then gets inside the end and kills the Ender Dragon in literally one hit. This guy is honestly built different. This one was a very realistic one that nearly got submitted as a legit speedrun. The runner starts off and gets some things in a village and manages to get themselves some diamonds from the blacksmith. Then collects some hay bales and kills the iron golem, getting him 6 pieces of iron, which is the first indication that this is faked. Because even if you look it up, you can see that the most you can get is 5, but somehow he got 6. This went unnoticed because he had a full hotbar and it's not usually something people would fake. With these 6 pieces, he can make an iron pickaxe and a bucket, and then he finds a lava pool. Once in the Nether, there's not too much that stands out instantly, but you can already see a fortress. Once he gets closer, there's actually something wrong. Comment right now if you can actually see it, because it took me a while to get myself. Yeah, so it turns out these blazes cannot actually spawn when the runner is this far away, and that is because of the spawner's chunks are not actually loaded. He then runs in a very specific direction that turns out to be towards a bastion, which if you look back could have been impossible to find as there was a lot of terrain in the way in between them. The bastion run is pretty normal as you get some gold blocks and goes to trade with some piglins, but there's something weird happening. The runner gives the piglins only 54 pieces of gold, which even if the odds are very good, would give the runner around 12 ender pearls. But this guy ends up having just 2 stacks of them, which makes these odds basically impossible. Once he's by the end portal, you can see a few items have now just appeared in his inventory that weren't there before. One of these being a crossbow. He says that it was from killing the piglins, but if you look back at the ground, there was actually nothing there. The runner's very close to being legit, but he just couldn't hide things well enough. This time they spawn in and spawn right next to a chest, which obviously isn't actually in the normal game of Minecraft, but at least the stuff wasn't amazing. They then go down into a desert temple that was nearby, and okay, well, there's all the really good stuff. Honestly, if you're gonna make a fake speedrun, at least make it less obvious, because it's just hilariously faked. After getting all of this maxed gear, they still didn't even give themselves netherite tools for some reason. Like, I have no idea what they were thinking. Like, they even have an elytra and fireworks. Like, this is just too funny. After all of this, they run straight into a village that was nearby and go into one of the houses and end up finding a sign that says to mine under the grindstone. Underneath that grindstone, there was another sign that tells them to go to the pillager tower. This definitely isn't a feature in the game, although it would help for speedrunning. Somehow they managed to run straight into the direction of the pillager tower, and then once they're inside, there's another sign that says just to dig straight down under the sign. And then of course there's just an end portal straight under there. Then once in the end, the runner somehow has a god bow that can literally do over half the dragon's health in a hit. Like, I don't even know how to do this myself. Like, it's actually quite impressive. The next guy spawns in a village and gets some of the things from a chest. He then makes his way to a ruined portal that was nearby. This guy's luck must be insane. But soon after, we realize how his luck was so good. He ends up getting a lot of good stuff that usually wouldn't be in there. Once in the nether, the runner gets some blaze rods, and once again something happens that indicates that this runner is in fact fake. Take a look at this and look if you can see what happens. If I slow down this footage, you can see that there is in fact a blacksmith in the nether, which I guess he forgot to get rid of. Once in the bastion nearby, he tries to get some gold blocks but actually manages to die. You may be thinking, oh, how is he going to finish the speedrun now? Yeah, well, when he spawns in, he has even better things than what he started with. But also something else happened. If you remember what the spawn looked like at the start of the run, you can tell it's much different to this. This next runner spawns in and everything looks pretty normal. They get some wood and begin to get some stone. Usually runners don't usually do this, but it's still a valid way to speedrun. Once getting some stone, they go back to the surface and make an axe and a pickaxe. Then they literally just turn on X-ray. Like, what are they doing? While using X-ray, they end up getting some iron armor and diamond tools, and then they just go into creative mode and make their own nether portal. For some reason in the nether, they kill some blazes and get 1 blaze rod. But like, they can literally just go into creative and get their own. And then like, they cut it so it looks like they got 64 blaze rods when you can see it change from 1 to 64. Like, come on, how do you expect people to believe this? And then, yeah, they place their own end portal and manage to kill the dragon in a few hits. Like, I don't even know how to do that. On this next run, it starts off in a village, which is pretty common until you see what happens next. The runner opens what would usually be a food chest and manages to get a ton of diamonds and other stuff that definitely wouldn't usually be there. It's just hilarious how people actually think this is how you speedrun. The runner then gets wood normally and then goes into the church, which would usually be very bad in a speedrun as there's basically nothing in there that you could use. But for some reason decides to mine down under the brewing stand and, yep, managed to find an insane amount of stuff that of course confirms this run is fake. But let's just carry on and see how this ends. The runner then goes into the nether using the 64 obsidian from one of the chests, and as soon as they get to the nether, they spot a nether fortress. I'm not sure if this was deliberate or not because I couldn't actually see the cut in the video from the village, but it was certainly very lucky. The runner gets to the fortress and manages to find a blaze spawner and kills some of the blazes. They only managed to get 1 blaze rod, but decide to stand still and suddenly get 64. I'm pretty sure they just cut the video and went into creative, or just got their friend to give them the blaze rods while they were recording, and that's how they got them. But of course it shows that it's even more fake. After finishing with the fortress, the runner finds only 1 piglin and decides to trade with it, and then runs away after putting it in a hole. They run into a tree and come back, and Oh look, there's a ton of piglins and a load of ender pearls. I wonder how that got there. Once finished with this, the runner then makes another portal and manages to spawn in the stronghold, but this time there is a clear cut while going through the portal. I'm guessing they probably went into creative or something and located the stronghold and then just placed a fake portal there and then went through that just so it would speed things up and make it look even more real rather than just cutting. The dragon fight is also obviously faked, but in a different way than you may think. The runner goes and stands next to the Bedrock portal and then the dragon suddenly dies, which was most likely killed by a friend or by themselves cutting the video and going into creative. This guy spawns in and is already looking at the ground, so we can tell it's already fake. He then looks around and finds a desert temple with some really OP stuff in, with a total of 12 enchanted golden apples, which is definitely not legit. He then manages to find a village and some pretty decent items that definitely shouldn't be in the village. Then the speedrunner eventually stops trying to hide the fact that they are actually faking the speedruns by following a sign that brings him to a chest full of netherite gear. Yeah, I don't think that's very legit. You're also probably wondering what that is. Take a look at this other chest that he ends up finding. Somehow he managed to get a gun into Minecraft. Like, how? He then gets some obsidian and makes his way into Nether. The runner spawns right next to the fortress, but as you can see, there is a hole right next to him in the shape of a portal, which I think he used to predetermine where he spawned in the Nether. He then kills some blazes and also kills some endermen and then looks for the direction of the stronghold. And he then turns out to be only like 50 blocks away from the stronghold. That is definitely not legit. The runner then gets into the end and says in chat that they will be back. And then they come back and all of the crystals are gone. Surely they can't believe this is how it works. Our guy here spawns into a speedrun and gets some wood and stone. Just a normal speedrun so far. He then finds a village where he goes in and finds some pretty normal loot in some of the houses. So it looks pretty legit. He then goes into the mines and finds a 10 vein of diamonds and then collects some obsidian. Once in the Nether, he goes to a bastion and this is where the run starts to get really funny. The runner makes it to the bottom of the bastion and manages to find a chest with a few things. One of these things being 2 buttons. The chance of getting a button in one of these chests is actually impossible, but there must be a reason to it. He then trades with the piglins and makes his way to the fortress with all of the pearls. Once in the fortress, this is where it gets actually hilarious. He finds a blaze spawner and places the button on one of these blocks that once pressed, yeah, the guy literally made a piston contraption for this fake speedrun. He then collects all of the netherite gear and makes his way to the stronghold, but this time is actually different. Notice how he still has the button. Yeah, he ends up finding a command block and suddenly the ender dragon dies. This next guy spawns in and it's obvious that he is a child, which makes this even more funnier.
There is a house. Let's go to that house.
As you can see, they are speedrunning on mobile. 2 words that definitely should not go together at all. This world was obviously tampered with as well because there's just a building here as soon as he spawns. And then he says he needs some pearls.
There are pearls in this speedrun right now.
And guess what? He gets some.
I found 100 pearls. Let's go.
The funniest thing happens next when the video is cut and he opens a chest pretending to be surprised that he found it.
What? I have everything I need.
Fair play to him, I guess. I was really convinced that it was actually real. He then builds an end portal with all the things he got from the chest, and then spends the next 5 minutes killing the ender dragon. And I'll give him credit for this, because this is the first person that I've actually seen kill the ender dragon legit. This speedrunner is loading up their game and is on Education Edition. I swear, I actually completely forgot about this version and why are they even playing it. But anyway, they spawn in and they are inside of a village house and are actually in creative. Come on, seriously? They also open up a chest and give themselves fully enchanted diamond gear and tools, which is a bit weird because netherite is in the game, but let's just see where this goes. They end up switching back to survival and begin to make an end portal. And you can tell as soon as they're placing it that they are new to this game and that it won't work. And then he actually places one in the middle of the portal, meaning he has to go and make a new one because he can't actually break it. And then it actually happens to him again. Oh my, this is actually so funny to watch. They finally finish the portal and it actually works this time finally. They then go into creative in the end, which for some reason is everyone's thing to do, and they also run the command to kill the ender dragon. What is up with people in doing this? They then watch literally all the way through the credits. I'm not sure if you can in Education Edition, but why don't they just skip it? Our friend here spawns in and is pretty close to a village, which is a very common thing in these speedruns. Then runs into a house that actually never has a chest in it, but ends up getting a chest with only emeralds, diamonds, and eyes of ender. What are you going to do with them? Like, you can't even hurt anything with them. Come on. Then goes into another house. Oh, that's where the OP stuff is. They then run all the way through the village to another building, which usually wastes a lot of time, and they end up finding some potions in the brewing stand. Seriously? And what is with the speedrunner and chests in houses that shouldn't actually have them? Because it happens again with some totems, and then they sleep. sorry to tell you this, but you're not actually supposed to sleep in speedruns because that just beats the purpose of it. You're supposed to be fast. They then cut down a tree for some reason and also start breaking the leaves to get an apple. This guy's priorities are so weird. And this is where the speedrun actually just makes no sense. The runner goes over to a ruined portal and finds some endstone, which is impossible, but I'm not surprised. But wait, once they go down there, they go straight into the end. So what were those eyes of Ender for in that first chest? Yeah, I don't get this guy. The end fight as well was pretty basic, as they just kill it in creative. Honestly, just avoid this guy as much as you can. This is weird. We start off with this runner spawning in a birch forest. They then go up to this tree and mine down for some reason, which turns out to be very suspicious, as there's literally just an elytra and fireworks. They then fly over a hill and yeah, they end up finding a village. Once in the village, the runner finds a house that is definitely not usually in the game. And once they get in the house, oh my god. For some reason, there's tons of lucky blocks in the speedrun. Also in these chests, there was full netherite armor and tools, as well as a stack of ender eyes, which they could probably use not too soon. The runner then runs through the painting and finds a pre-made nether portal. Like, how would that even spawn in a normal village? Once in the nether, there's a sign that says to turn around, and there's just an end portal right there. And then in the end, all they did was just place and break the lucky blocks. Like, come on, surely you want to kill the ender dragon instead. The title of this next speedrun was Every Boss. The run starts off pretty good as they find a shipwreck and manage to get some decent stuff from it, including a treasure map. That ends up being pretty close by. And inside of it is, yeah, I don't think that's even possible. The runner then goes on a boat for literally 5 minutes before coming across an ocean monument, where they then kill the Elder Guardian and make their way back towards land. They then get to Nether and find a fortress where they can kill wither skeletons and get some skulls for the wither. But they end up opening a chest and find literally a maxed out netherite sword. That for sure will help them getting the heads that they need. The wither fight begins and is in the Nether and is over pretty fast because of this guy's sword. Like, it's just too insane. But as he checks his inventory, you can see he actually had resistance and strength for that fight, which obviously made it a lot easier. The Ender Dragon fight was pretty